Hello everyone and welcome to Pablo Escobar's video series. This is going to be vlog entry number 10 as we continue our travels through Khyber 5. Fortunately, this second week of season 26 did not fare out very well for the account, but on the plus side we managed to make some progress on our sea farm. Always a silver lining, I guess. So our first matchup was against a player named Panda Hands, and Panda Hands ended up beating us in the first round with a score of 933 against the low score of 118 we were able to put up. So our trouble started out with this GAC team, which was one of our few successful victories. We managed to take our Padme Cat team up against this, and once Cat was able to get the force leap off on gas, we were able to start whittling down the rest of the team, and a pretty straightforward victory from there. However, our problem started to come in with the second round against Darth Revan. So I think when I was starting to play this, I underestimated just how powerful this full Relic 7 Darth Revan team was. I decided to take my gas up against this, but the Relic 7 really shone through here. They were very difficult to put down, and just a little bit too much overall. So Gas was thankfully able to take out Malik and managed to do some decent damage before HK-47 put him in the ground. We then decided that since Gas and that didn't work out, let's try the Palpatine lead team, their team, against the Zam Omicron based bounty hunters. And on paper this should have worked out quite well, but I think I underestimated just how much speed that Zam Omicron adds to the rest of the team. And this team pretty much just dawned circles around us until they were able to kill off everyone. Thankfully we were able to take out Zam at least, and put a pin in this and said we'll come back to it a bit later. We then decided that since the gas team was unsuccessful against the Darth Revan team, we would try and circle back and maybe give the faithful troopers a shot at it. However, I'd forgotten that Darth Revan's unique, or his leader ability, one of them, prevents them losing turn meter, and in addition to that they were all preloaded to the hilt with turn meter. Thankfully we were able to take our Backlash on Fallen. Then decided to hop over, change tactics, and try using Jedi Knight Revan against this General Grievous team. And I think at this point it was a little bit of frustration from how the rest of the Grand Arena was going. I eventually managed to kill Grievous, waited a bit of time, but it was a very hairy, very close battle, and yeah, we were able to eventually get Grievous out of commission. A couple of the other heroes unfortunately perished, but Jolie was able to revive everyone, and we could then try for a cleanup. However, once Jolie fell, I think I pretty much just rage quit this, which in hindsight might not have been the best idea, because I probably could have sent something in to clean them up. I don't know what, but something would have had a chance, I guess. Anyway, then we went back to the bounty hunter team with Bosk in their lead. Now that Zam was out of commission, they were a little bit slower at least, and I decided to take this Treya Sith Triumvirate up against them. Boba out of there with the Annihilate, not to be resurrected. Treya came very close to dying off here, but thankfully that Zeta of hers came in clutch and she managed to recover health very quickly. We were then able to channel or power through the other two and pull off another Annihilate, and then just was a matter of trying to wear down Dengar. And fortunately Sion was able to dish out a decent amount of damage and put him down. At this point then we thought, you know what, let's just go for a Hail Mary and try Wampa up against this Phasma team, and I guess this is just a son of everything. But I think this is more just Wampa being severely undergeared, so maybe in the future that might be different. Thankfully round 2 came around and we versed a player named Stumpy, and for a brief shimmering moment we had a change of fortune. So we tried out Gas against this Darth Revan team, which is not fully geared Relic 7, but I think it's Relic 5 or something, and we actually did a far better job here. So a bit of cautious playing, being able to keep Malik under control, and then put Darth Revan down for 61 banners in total. Then took this Padme Cat team up against a CLS led team with a hodgepodge rebel cohort behind him. I think this was the full, properly optimized CLS team with Chewie and Chewbacca, 3PAC. It wouldn't have worked out so well, but straightforward 61 banner in the end. Then decided to take Jedi Knight Revan up against the bounty hunter team with Bosk lead. So the kill order priority here was to first get rid of Boba Fett for the execute, since that burnt us once before, and then get rid of Jango, who prevents revives. I suppose Mando with his disintegrate also technically could prevent revives, but that would require the contract to proc first, and the other two seemed more of an imminent threat. So we were able to clear through them, and were able to come away with 64 banners. I think Dengar, son of a bitch, sniped us a banner. We then went up against a Hux-led team and decided to use the Empire team against them. This was also pretty straightforward, and this Empire team is slowly coming along quite nicely as I'm adding relic levels to the front three. Short Reaper has gone up a gear level since the last time, but still susceptible to getting blitzed out if I'm not too careful with balancing the attacks off of him. But yeah, in the end we were able to come away with 64 banners here as well. Palpatine was able to recover a bit of protection, but unfortunately there wasn't enough time to try and regroup some on Short Trooper. So our next matchup was then a solo Kylo Ren against the Jawas, and he made pretty short work of them. I think the thinking there was that the thermal detonators that they throw out deal percentage base damage. We then took Wampa against the Ewoks. My reasoning here was we always use Nest, and Nest always tends to lose just one banner for protection recovery. I thought since Wampa has that middle ability where he recovers protection, it might be worth considering him to see if he's able to field better banners, but pretty much came away with 68 banners as well. We then tried Traya lead against the Jedi Knight Revan team. And I don't think this was so much Jedi Knight Revan that was the problem, as much as it was just this Mace Windu with these Zetas or whatever it is. Just this constant foresight on the team is a pain to work around. None of the attacks hit, and you just can't dish any damage out against them. And even if you do dish out any damage, there's still a Savior you have to get through, then a Jolie revive, and then before you know it, the foresights are back on the field. And in addition to this, the Shatterpoint ability was absolutely frustrating to work with. He took my really tanky Scion down to like a next to nothing health. It was like he was basically at gear 1 or something. And then it was just a case of just one little light hit and he was out of there. Really makes a case evaluation later on. But I think that eventually comes around when I'm going to be working on the Jedi Master Kenobi path. Then decided to get some confidence back and take the troopers up against the Night Sisters, and that was a pretty straightforward, pretty standard counter there. We were able to come away with 65 banners in total, so not bad to get us back on course after that previous failure. We figured, you know what, since we've done what we can, let's just try and go for a Hail Mary, and since it's mostly Jedi on that team, let's see if Dooku and his separatist allies will be able to get a better run against the Jedi. Unfortunately, this was not to be, and this Mace Windu came very close to dying, but unfortunately to no avail. So another loss there, but overall we were able to pick up a total of 702 banners and hold off our opponent to 113, so we were able to come away with a win in the middle round for week 2. So we went then against a Jedi Knight Luke team using the Empire-led team, and fortunately we were able to hold everyone down, especially Jedi Knight Luke, who hits like a truck normally. But we were able to keep him into lockdown and circle and dance around him and take everyone else out. Our third battle was against Phasma, and I thought to use my Dooku leftover team. Eventually this team might have some prospect, I guess, but I think by that point Asajj would have moved over to the Night Sister team. So for now this is just a straggler team of some sort that I just try to put together to try and see if they can do any kind of work. But they'll probably need a better placement further down the line. So yeah, unfortunately no win here. I don't know if maybe I should have taken out the Executioner, but then if I did that, somebody else would have probably blitzed me out. But in the end, we were able to get this team down to the Executioner, and then decided, you know what, let's go and start cleaning up in the other spots where we were. So we took the Bounty Hunters for a bit of a trial out against the Maul team. Unfortunately, they were a bit preloaded with TM and were able to obliterate this Bounty Hunter team before they even got a chance to say hello. So we circled back around again then to the Mon Mothma team and used the troopers against them. I think the preloaded TM that they were left with allowed them to take out VS quite easily, but the troopers were able to regain their momentum and blitz out the rest of the Mon Mothma team, coming away with 41 banners. Against the First Order Executioner, I just threw in a solo Han and Han Solo and just let him take decided to take the Jedi Knight Revan team out against Maul. The idea here was to try and get him marked off on Maul, and since he's not hiding under stealth so often, it was easier to pick him out than a General Grievous. We were able to put him down and come away with 34 banners there. Maybe you should have used Jedi Knight Revan instead of the Bounty Hunters, but I guess you live and learn. Then went up with the Sith trio against the Geos, and pretty standard counter, no loss here, except for the protection, but fortunately Treo was able to stay standing despite the attacks, and came away there with 64 banners. Then decided to target a Revan team. Had a bit of a bad track record in the beginning of this round, but we decided, you know what, let's just give Gas another turn, and we were able to work a bit more smartly here and around the relic levels that were a little bit more manageable. Eventually Malik would have to get put down, but we decided while Gas was down, let us just try and get a few hits off against HK47, and then yeah, there goes Malik and Revan to follow. And then decided that since we needed to go up against this General Grievous, let's just try using Padme and the Cat team. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I tried to hold off with Force Leap a bit. I wanted to try and target Grievous, but I think that AoE damage was a little bit unaccounted, and we ended up forcing a marked onto the Magnum Droid. But in the end, we were able to still beat this team out and come away with a nice 60 banner win. Nice in inverted commas, I guess. No Grievous battle is really that nice because they're always stealing banners from you. Anyway, we then went up against a negotiator fleet, trying to see if we could get some fleet battles. Unfortunately, we've only really got 2 properly viable fleets at the moment. I'm slowly working on the Thrawn fleet, but I think that Empire fleet is far from being a functional offensive fleet at the moment. I'd probably also need to get the TIE Interceptor in the next few conquests to actually make them worthwhile. But yeah, so we tried the Finalizer, and I think the weakness here is still that TIE Echelon that's missing some gear levels. Hopefully he becomes farmable soon, and then I can add him to the farming sequence. But unfortunately a loss against the Negotiator. So our next battle then was up against a Rebel fleet. And against this Rebel fleet I decided to use my own Negotiator. Whether they could have beaten Negotiator in the previous match in a mirror match, guess we'll never know. But those are always a little bit dicey. I'm not so sure how the Finalizer would have fared against this Rebel team. Maybe they might have actually done better, I guess. But anyways, live and learn, I guess. So this Negotiator team was able to make fairly short work of this Rebel team, and we were able to plow through them quite easily. Okay, so that's the Grand Arena update over, and now moving on to the account update. So I think fortunately there was a bit more promising movement in this direction compared to with the Grand Arena for the past few weeks. So starting out with the Sith Eternal Emperor farm plan so far. So the first few teams that we've had up, we've made not really much progress with Dark Trooper, who's still sitting at gear 12 with the 5 pieces attached. I think since he's not really needed for a GL right now, he's a little bit lower down on the priority list for gearing and for allocating Kairos to. I'd rather allocate them to Thrawn, who needed them to move from gear 12 through to the relics, and at the time of this we had him at relic 5, just on the threshold of going across to relic 6. So definitely a more worthy investment to help us get closer to C. I'll eventually get this Dark Troop up to maybe relic 5, maybe even relic 7, just because the damage that he deals is so worth it. But it's definitely not at the expense of trying to hold off my C progression. The other improvements here was with the Short Trooper and Mara Jade. With the Ardent Verso team, we were able to get Stormtroop up to past gear 12, but I think I'm going to hold off there and maybe just let him hang around gear 12 until I'm done with my C farm, even a bit later after that probably. Stark is the next one that we're going to try and see if we can move towards getting to relics, since he only needs to be at relic 3 for the C unlock, so not a very high ceiling to have to aim for. But we'd rather get the move on in the meantime. Plus he also helps out quite a bit with my Treya runs, so I may get some benefits out of having him a little bit higher up. And yeah, we'll see how the farming plan pans out by the next week. Then moving on to the second 2 teams, here's where we got some progress, and we were able to get Count Dooku up to the necessary relic 6. Maul is also kind of pole vaulted over everyone else in that team. He's well up to gear 12 and actually heading very close to relic level soon. I think he only needs relic 4, so really not that bad of an investment to consider. Sidious is going to slowly be moving up as well, but he's at relic 7. hang around for a bit of time because I need to start scrapping together gear for him. And then on the second tier Empire team, we still got a bit of progress to make there with everyone. Krennic and Krennic and Tarkin still have quite a while to go, and the Marauder is also kind of stuck a bit. It's mainly the Cobantes and the Holo Projectors that seem to be holding me up right now. Even for that matter, the Royal Guard is still stuck at the low gear level gears because of the fact that he requires those Holo Projectors. But if push comes to shove, I'm probably going to allocate them rather to Tarkin, since A, he's got a capital ship, and B, his relic requirement's also pretty low and it should be easy to get him across the mark since he's also an older character. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'm going to try and leave Sidious and Marauder for a little bit later, because I need to start building up a surplus of gear to scrap to make their lower level gears like the carbonite circuit boards and the bronzium wiring, etc. But yeah, so some decent movement on Sith Eternal Unlock farm, so we're actually not doing too badly with that. Moving then on to the account review for the account as a whole, and there's been some interesting movements in this regard. So for the past week, we've been able to move our galactic power up from 4.35 million to 4.4 million, so just an increase of a modest 50k. Our relic farm is to try and get Thrawn from relic 5 through to relic 6 and tick off another mark for the Sith Eternal Emperor farm. Currently gear 13, I'm going to prioritize Darth Maul to get him across to relic levels to help with unlocking Sith Eternal Emperor sooner. Dark Trooper and Wampa, and for that matter even Stormtrooper, will just be sitting on gear 12 for a while, and of those I think Wampa would take the next priority once all the Sith Eternal Emperor farms are done, because firstly he's needed for Jedi Master Luke, but also it would make him into a more viable solo. Currently I have no gear 12 projects available to work on. The energy forms are still the Armorer Cara Dune, Resistance Zero Finn, the IG-2000 and the Vulture Droid, the two permanent fixtures here. The Zeta for the week went to Wat Tambor for mass manufacture, and even though he's such a low gear level, I figured I'd rather invest it in him, and the next one would probably go to the Armorer to get them geared up. From there I'm probably going to have to hoard another 6 Zetas and get it prepared and ready for the Sith Eternal Emperor. After that, then maybe I might circle around and give a few luxury Zetas to the other teams that have formed in his wake, but I'll get to there when I get there. It's a toss-up between them and CLS, so I guess we'll see which one gets to a reasonable gear level first, but CLS might out some of these like Darth Maul, Krennic and Tarkin. In terms of the use of our resources at the shopping type of level, the guild store currency is still being used for gear and primarily for Cobantes, but trying to bank around 3,000 to pick up a few scrap pieces for whichever pieces I need to get someone across the mark, either from a gear 11 through to gear 12 or to try and push them into a relic mode faster, which we've been trying to do with Darth Maul. Get 1 is still being used for clutch buys of items, Get 2 is still being used for the Malevolence, which is still at 6 stars, and our shot shop, unfortunately our bank seems to be reaching the end of its surplus, but we've been able to pick up quite a few decent pieces along the way. So that brings us to the end of this week's video. Next week with week 3 of Grand Arena, we've got a few more updates on the account and some progression hopefully as we continue on our path to the Sith Eternal Emperor unlock. If we can get it before June, that would be great. And I'm going to be optimistic. Okay, let's say July to be a bit more realistic, before the end of July. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate the time you guys have taken to support us. If there's any thoughts, comments, etc., please feel free to leave them below. And don't forget to check out the streams on Twitch. Thanks a lot, cheers, and take care.